So I think we've got time for maybe a couple of quick questions or one less quick question, if anyone has any for Simon or for any of the other speakers. I know that lunch is tempting all of you. Yes. we do have a question.
Okay, are we on here? Okay. Jay Van Eman, Access Innovations. A couple of quick questions. One, do you see this social media as a direct or indirect revenue producer? Direct meaning right off the social media, or indirect meaning it's driving people to your existing revenue producing activities? And the second quick question, there are established procedures for archiving journal literature. Are you working on establishing procedures and policies for archiving Twitters and blogs, particularly if they happen to be linked to a published journal article or newspaper story? Thank you.
For my part, I have to say we don't have any revenues from internet, from publishing on the internet. Nobody has so far in Germany. That's the problem. There is no business model. There is no business model even for the online media. There are some trials, and there are some more or less successful trials, but obviously there is no real big solution for that. And that's the case, of course, for Facebook too. The only person who earns money from Facebook is Mark Zuckerberg, maybe, and some others right now. But of course, a lot of people earning money, but not the media. So the situation for the media is terrible in that context. So there are no revenues. This is a strategy for us, just a strategy to keep our brand on a high level. And the only thing we have to be sure, we as editors, to keep the quality high, the quality of the articles, of course, and also right now with the internet and the online platforms, especially the social media platforms, to keep in contact with the readers and to get new readers. Like Ruth already mentioned it, the audiences are changing, and that's the important part. This is part of the revolution. We got other audiences right now. This is the same issue for researchers. Of course, they didn't have the opportunity so far without these new media platforms to get in contact, direct contact to the public, so to the lay public, especially. So there are new opportunities, but there are some, I have to say, challenges in a financial aspect. But that's not my expertise.
I do a certain amount of work with organisations in sport around social media, and it's interesting that FC Barcelona last week became the first sport organisation to have 1 billion followers on social media, various forms of social media, and I think even FC Barcelona, if they were honest about it, would say, so what? And I think we're still in this iterative process of understanding what it is that social media does, and certainly from a personal point of view, it's good for awareness raising and disseminating information, for creating a market proposition. Whether there's a tangible impact on my bottom line, I really don't know. What it's very good at is getting me lots of followers. That's one thing, but I think beyond that, as an academic, in terms of, for example, press coverage, a lot of journalists follow me and they'll pick up on stories that I've been tweeting about. But otherwise, I don't sense for me as an individual there's a particular impact on my bottom line as such.
I could say just a couple words about that. I would reiterate what the others said. In most ways, I suppose it's a form of social selling. It's and brand awareness, as has been said. There are, however, other models. Monetization of a blog, difficult thing. It's been proposed. It's as everybody knows. There are other models that some people are using that have worked, sponsorships, partnerships with foundations that have potential. The other thing is that there are some blogs. A blog is really a website, and if the website has good content, you can sometimes sell subscriptions. It could be a value-added thing that you could have along with your subscription if you paid extra. In some cases, I don't see us doing that in the near future. But there are a couple of blogs that I subscribe to and I pay for because they're really good and they're substantive. So it's not an impossibility. But no, nobody's cracked the code yet.
I mean, I think it's a really exciting time because people are playing with models and people are trying different things to kind of see, I guess, financial or other benefits from these outputs. But yeah, like they say, we're not there yet. We have one final question at the back. I hope it's quick because I'm starving.
Yeah, sorry, I'm conscious I'm between you and lunch, Ruth. Andrew Richardson, Walders Kluwer. Three very different views of social media there, and I think contrasting with the first presentation we had this morning as well. At the risk of being provocative, Simon, I'm a sports fan. I completely understand sport is now. I don't watch recorded sport, I watch live sport, and I wouldn't read an article about something that happened last week, let alone something that happened in 2010, because as you say, it's gone. However, in scientific and academic publishing, we lacerate ourselves year after year about the value of peer review and how we achieve perfection and the quality of the articles and how that plays to our brands. So in something that is as instantaneous as sport, I can completely see. But as I say, at the risk of being provocative, in how would the room see the application of these kinds of things to, as it were, proper science, where there needs to be an article of record? And we've heard a couple of examples this morning where, in the case of Ebola, where a serious correction can be issued. And Kathy this morning also mentioned this thing about the green tea and liver. So there's this constant evolution, which does require on a proposition being made in the first place. So I guess my question is, I can completely see for something that's instant why this is great, and I can completely see for news, although there's so much noise on the sort of Twitter sphere and blogosphere now, that it's very hard to separate the interesting stuff from just the general crap that's out there in the world. Do we think it's applicable to science as we publish it?
Yes. In a word. I think that, as I said, I edit journals, but what strikes me about academic journals is this peer review by academics for academics. And I think one of the things that potentially social media does is to demystify that process. And in terms of looking at this in terms of organizational governance, it's not a particularly transparent process. So two people you've never met decimate one of your articles, possibly based upon personal prejudices, and you very often have got very little comeback on that. And so I think one of the ways in which social media can make a contribution to science, if you like, and certainly in terms of peer-reviewed scientific journals, is by improving the governance of these journals and making the review process more open and transparent, and possibly generating a good deal more reviews than just from two biased academics sat in their offices somewhere. So I think, obviously in terms of sport and in terms of being flippant and provocative, because I was late and I was sweating and I was a little bit flustered, I take your point. But I think it does require some lateral thinking and some disruptive innovation in terms of challenging that existing peer-reviewed journal model that we have.
I think Joachim has something to add.
I want to answer this question, and also Simon, because I think we have to keep in mind that this is not an entertaining exercise. It's especially in the academic sphere. The messages which get out from via social media they have a value, a big value for researchers, because it is time consuming, and good researchers, so the top researchers, they need their time for their research, and it's an important aspect it couldn't be, from my opinion, it couldn't be a must for top researchers to stay in contact with readers or users or whatever, and do such entertaining parts of the social media phenomenon. So we have to keep in mind that we have to stick to the old style communication. It's not that we need journalists. Nobody needs really journalists if you don't need independent information. But if you just want to get information and to communicate with the researchers, you can use social media very well. But don't be too optimistic that the top researchers will do the same. Will interact with you in the same way you requested from them.
Can I just make one final point? Because because Emerald have now said, well, Simon, what we're going to do together, and I've kind of been mulling this over for the last few weeks. And just to come back to the gentleman at the back, I mean, it's things like crowdsourced research problems and crowdsourced reviews. There may be opportunities for improving what we do as certainly as social scientists, possibly even natural scientists too. And I think rather than say, well, this is the way that we do things, this is the way that we've always done things, this is the way it's going to continue, and we'll try and find a way to use social media, I would actually rather see a more fundamental challenge to the way of doing business, our way of doing business, than we've seen so far using social media.
Yep. So I'm going to finish up, I think. And I think what I found very interesting was that Joachim said, newspaper publishing, it's a fight for survival. And the reason that, there is no business model online for them, and they are trying to use social media to draw eyeballs, but they're still, it's a fight for survival. Simon and Jacob have both said that, have acknowledged that we do need to move with the times. Our audiences are online. They are, I think in reference to your question at the back, academics talk at conferences, they are talking openly about their research before it's published and after it's published. It's just this is happening online now, and technology is enabling those conversations to happen across, international boundaries without people coming into the same room. So I think, it does present an opportunity for us if we're kind of listening in, and if we do pay attention to what people are doing with disruptive technologies. I heard someone once speak, this was years ago, but they said, if you're not on Twitter, then you won't understand the technology that follows Twitter. So I think, if you think about it like that, Twitter may not be here in 5-10 years' time, but something else will have replaced it. And if we're not on it now, we won't understand it, because academics, our audiences, will have migrated. And if we don't migrate with them, then we do, we potentially can lose those audiences. So I think it is important for us to keep up with technology and keep up with our audiences. But I think it's most important that we thank our speakers now, and then we go and have some lunch.